Well, hello and welcome everyone to this latest installment of our Client Success webinar series. Today's topic is keeping tabs on your competition in gShift, and well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to leave your mics on mute just to avoid the background noise, but please feel free to enter any questions you have in the GoToMeeting chat window, and I'll do my best to answer them all at the end, or take any more detailed questions you might have offline. This webinar will certainly be recorded and made available to all registrants in the next day or so. So if you're not able to stay on with us for the entire 30 minutes, and we'll try to keep it to 30 minutes, we'll be sending along a link to the recorded version of today's webinar. I haven't introduced myself, so I'm Jeff Riddell. I'm a Senior Client Success Manager here at gShift. I have a little over 12 years experience in web marketing, which I guess makes me something of a dinosaur from online marketing perspective. I have a journalism degree. I'm a blogger and something of a social media addict, if you were to ask any of my family members. I'm a hockey dad, avid hockey dad, and I'm happy to announce there that I'm a recent survivor of the Warrior Dash, having gone through the course with my children on the weekend. So I'm here and living to tell, which is a good sign. So let's move on with the today's presentation. In terms of quick agenda, some of the things I'd like to talk about and cover today, hopefully answer questions you may have around how to identify your true online competitors and gauge the strength of their web presence relative to yours, how to determine which keywords your competitors are most likely focusing on or ultimately being found for, and perhaps those keywords which you should likewise be paying attention to, where your competitors maintain backlinks or inbound links to their sites, and how they're using social media to potentially boost their authority online. Again, perhaps displacing you for certain keywords or being found in places where you're not currently, and how can we learn from some of the techniques or things that they're doing that could likewise benefit your organization. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to overpower your competition ultimately with an optimized content marketing strategy. And the hopeful outcome of all of this is to dominate your competition on organic search and social. Okay. Just quickly on gShift, for those of you who aren't aware or aren't familiar, should all be happy customers, we assume. But what we are ultimately trying to do for everyone out there is making it simple for brands to be massively discovered in an increasingly social and mobile world. We process literally billions of data points now for over 10,000 brands across 22 countries, really trying to bring all of the data necessary to make better decisions about web presence and web presence optimization under one umbrella. So you don't have to be out there trying to collect all of those bits of data from the myriad of places that they can be found these days when it comes to an organization's web presence. But let's talk specifically about competition. So where do we start with competitors in gShift? Well, the simplest is to add your known 3 to 5 of your known competitors to get a sense as to whether or not they're truly online competitors. All of our clients certainly have competitors that they identify in the quote unquote real world. Those competitors they assume they're competing against online. But what we need to determine is whether or not those competitors indeed maintain online visibility and presence, whether or not they're on page 1 of Google for the keywords that our clients want to be found for, and whether or not they pose any sort of a risk, or if we can learn anything from them insofar as they've been able to maintain that page 1 visibility. Assuming that they have established some visibility, then we want to understand how well structured their websites are, and or how wide their web presences are in terms of their sites, their offline pages, backlinks, any social activity that they may be involved in. So to do that, we're simply plugging in our competitors within the competition area in the gShift interface. we're, as I say, adding their primary URLs, their domains, so that we can track them against the keywords that we're monitoring. And here's an example from our very familiar Barrie Condo demo site. We're here under the competition and keywords panel. We're looking at the last 30 days in Google Canada, and we're comparing ourselves. These are our positions here for this list of keywords against our three, in this case, top competitors. We can look at the dashboard panel to start. Oops, sorry about that. The dashboard panel to start to get a sense as to who our top competitors are from a keyword position perspective, who has the most keyword positions for the, again, keywords that we're currently following, and then start to get a sense as to whether or not there's any keywords we're behind on. So in this particular case, we've got a very specific long tail keyword here, 21 Kempenfeld Drive in Barrie, that we're currently behind one of our competitors for. We're also behind slightly for a term, Barrie condominiums for sale. So, indeed, for some of the keywords that we're following, this competitor is somebody we want to take a look at. And likewise, we'll pay attention to see on an ongoing basis whether or not there's any movement one way or the other on the keywords that we're following by any of our known competitors. But in addition to known competitors, or what we think to be our online competitors, we really want to try and identify our true competitors. So rather than who we think we're competing against online, we want to take a quick look within gShift and understand who's consistently on the first 2 pages of Google for, again, our primary keywords, the keywords that we're following and want to be found for. Who's ultimately in our way in terms of getting to that #1 position in Google. And again, who can we learn from in terms of understanding how well structured their websites are and how wide their web presences are. We can assume that those organizations, those domains that appear on page 1 or 2 of Google, though any domains that are ahead of us for all intents and purposes, have convinced Google that they have higher authority than we do. And we need to look within their sites and or their web presences to understand what are those things they're doing that are enabling them to have those better positions or that better visibility. So ultimately, this is a pretty simple process of simply going into the keywords and keywords section here, panel of gShift, choosing any of your given keywords. In this case, for the Barrie Condo team, we're looking at Barrie condos for sale, one of our prime keywords. I might also point out that at any point, if you quickly want to switch to look at any other keyword, you can click on the switch keyword button over here on the right and flip to any other keyword that you're particularly interested in. But most specifically, what panel we're looking at here is for this particular term, what are the top 50 results in google.ca as of today? And we can look over a different time period if we're interested, but primarily we're interested in what's happening in the current. So if we want to look at today, this is effectively the top 50 results. Now I've cut it off here at 12. I couldn't fit the entire 50 on my my screenshot. But what we're looking to identify, as I've indicated here, is which are those competitors or domains, and even specifically the pages that are positioned in the top 10 for my keywords, the keywords that I'm most interested in. Now, in this case, we're ranking ahead of and doing well for this particular term, but we might want to still follow some of the competitors, the other potential competitors we have on this page. So over here on the right, we can simply click on the follow button, and you'll see you have the option of either following an offsite page, which we'll talk a little bit about further in a moment. But what we're interested in here is simply adding this domain as a competitor, so we can begin to monitor to see, again, whether or not this competitor is ranking for any of the other keywords we're following, and monitor them more closely against all of our primary focus keywords. So as I say, one of the things that's not, once we've identified those key online competitors, the ones that are showing up on page 1 or 2, Something that's not currently available in gShift, but we're certainly putting and have on our roadmap moving forward, is the ability to identify or take a look at your competitor's site structure. Specifically, what we're looking at here are the title tags, the headings, the H1, H2, H3, H4, or beyond tags, and any linked keywords on the primary pages that are ranking for our competitors. And what we're ultimately looking for are clues as to what keywords those competitors may be focusing on, which we're not already monitoring. We may find that, indeed their pages are optimized, or the keywords that are highlighted on their pages are very much the same as ours. But from time to time, we might find that they've put a different spin on a keyword, or they're following other keywords that perhaps we should likewise be interested in. And again, those can show up in their title tags, their headings, and or their linked keywords. Now, this is all using the assumption that the competitors and the sites that we're looking at have actually thought about and implemented some sort of search engine optimization strategy. If their pages aren't well structured, don't have keywords in their title tags or headings or linked keywords, you might be out of luck. But insofar as these are ranking sites, identified online competitors, you should probably find that most of these sites will be fairly well structured, and there may be some learning that you can gain from simply looking at the structure, as I say, looking at their titles and their headings and their linked keywords, among other things. Now, one of the other pieces we can look at within gShift currently is, and is another means to establishing what keywords your competitors might be focusing on, is anchor text keywords. Now, anchor text is the actual text associated with a link, whether it be an internal link on the competitor's site or an external link from a backlink or an inbound link from a third-party website to the competitor's site. And here again, we're looking to see effectively what keywords have the competitors linked from to get to their site. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead there, or back actually. And where we're looking here is under keywords and research, specifically over on the left-hand side, the tab we're interested in, or the section we're interested in, is competitors. And you'll see that under this competitor section, we have a listing. We can choose which competitor we're specifically interested in. Here we've chosen comfree.com. And what's returned is the list of anchor text keywords that have been used on the backlinks coming from third-party sites to their site. And again, in many cases, there's the assumption here that this competitor was aware of what they were doing when they were building backlinks or when they were procuring backlinks from third-party sites. But what we're looking for is whether or not they thought about linking from keywords that they wanted to be found for. And so in some cases, and this isn't a bad example, we see that, typically we'll see branded keywords. So in this case, Comfree is the highest, has the highest number of anchor texted backlinks, but they've also used terms like for sale by owner, real estate in Canada, real estate for sale in Canada, and real estate Alberta down here at the bottom. So those are some potential keywords that we could think about incorporating into our keyword list to see where we currently rank, and or start to monitor and perhaps optimize some of our pages for those same keywords. Again, assuming that those are keywords we're likewise interested in. To add any of these at any point, you simply check off the box, and over here on the right, you've got the follow keywords button. So pretty straightforward, just simply looking to see if we can find some other keywords out there that our competitors may be using to link to their sites. The other important piece of that then to follow on anchor text is understanding where our competitors' backlinks actually exist. And what we're looking to do here is mine our competitors' backlink sources for either free or paid backlinking opportunities of our own. I always use the term piggybacking on some of the places that our competitors have already researched and done their work on to identify backlinking sources. Now, that being said, backlinks are as many of you may already know, kind of a tricky thing. You want to make sure that you're focusing your attention on relevant, reputable sources. So stay away from sites that, if they look spammy and feel spammy, they probably are spammy. You want to try and really hone in on relevant, reputable industry sources, whether they be blogs or directories or industry associations, those types of sites that, upon first glance are indeed reputable sites. What you don't want to do, and I've got that capitalized there, is get caught up in quantity over quantity. Far too often, I know we have clients who look at simply the numbers, and for instance, they'll say our client or our site only has 100 backlinks and the competitor has 1,000. That doesn't necessarily mean that the competitor's backlinks are all good backlinks. Some time does need to be spent going through and understanding which of those inbound links or which of those domains where those links are hosted are true, reputable, relevant links that we might likewise gain some authority from. But competitor backlinks are definitely a great piece of information to have when you're trying to understand why a competitor may be outranking or having better visibility online overall. So another little trick, if you will, and a way of using gShift that many of you may not have thought about in terms of keeping tabs on a competitor, is to actually follow a competitor's ranking content page as an offsite page. Now, typically, we recommend an offsite page as being a page that is part of your own web presence or is part of your brand extension. So a directory listing you have, or a press release that you may have posted or distributed through a third-party syndication service. But what we're talking about doing here is actually following a competitor or a competitor's domain or page, even more specifically page, as an offsite page. What we're looking to do here is sort of reverse engineer and understand what other keywords that page, that competitor's page, might be ranking for that we're following. So this is a quick way of identifying if there's other keywords in our list that our competitor or this specific page is being found for. One of the other things that an offsite page will give us is insight into what, if any, social signals that page has been receiving. So are there people liking and sharing and tweeting about that page? Those social signal information is gathered third party or is gathered through our proprietary solution, and we'll be able to tell you whether or not some of your competitors' pages have any social authority out there, whether or not they're being socially shared and what have you. The other thing we can take a look at is whether or not there's any backlinks coming to this specific page and the anchor text associated with those backlinks. So again, these are high-ranking pages that are owned by your competitors, and we want to understand what backlinks are going to those pages that may be a factor in helping them establish that rank or establish that authority. So again, a bit of a quote-unquote hack, if you will, within gShift, but we're here to give you some secrets. So think about looking at competitors' pages as potential offsite pages, as opposed to your own pages, to see what insights you can get about those pages. So here's another just example of once you've followed that. This is the offsite page view. We've followed this competitor page, which is the Remax Barrie Real Estate page, a competitor of our Barrie condo team. And what this is giving you, as I mentioned, is now there's not a whole lot of data here now, but now what we won't have is any analytics data. We won't be able to pull that in from Google Analytics because we won't have to actually have any sort of access or authorization to do so from a competitor's site. But what we could in time see is whether or not there's any page social signals. So has anybody liked it on Facebook or tweeted about it or Google Plus or shared it on LinkedIn? We can also, as I mentioned before, see whether or not there's any backlinks coming to it, how many backlinks from how many different unique domains and what anchor text was used. Here in the middle, we can also see for the different search engines we're following, what other keywords is this particular page being found for? So this is a quick way of getting some insight into where else this page may be ranking outside of going to that competition screen that we looked at earlier. This quickly tells us that for these keywords and these search engines, and we can click on more to find out if there are more. Here's a quick way of referencing where those competitors have some of those positions that we may ultimately covet if they're ahead of us for any of these particular keywords. Okay, so that's how you might think about leveraging off-site pages in gShift. The other module some of you may or may not be aware of and using currently is our Twitter keyword research module. And you'll see this here under, again, we're in the keywords and keywords section. We're focusing specifically on the Barrie condo keyword. And what we're looking to or suggesting to do here is to track your primary keywords and or maybe even your competitors' branded keywords, that is, put their company names in, to see whether or not they're active on Twitter, what content they may be socializing, because we're going to be able to give you some insight into, based on this keyword or based on their name specifically, whether or not there's been any tweets, any content shared on Twitter based on those specific keywords, or simply they're being mentioned on Twitter. That's something you want to again get some insight into, some competitive intelligence around whether or not there's organizations out there that are talking about your competitor, perhaps influencers in the industry who are talking about your competitor, and you would hope or want that they'd be talking about you in time. Those might be people that you want to start following on Twitter in hopes of getting follows back and in hopes of them starting to pay attention to your content. That being said, the other thing you might want to do, and you'll see here, we're actually looking specifically at this keyword and the content associated with it on Twitter. What this is telling us is these potential competitors have some content that they've tweeted over the last, in this case, 30 days. And so here's the domain and or the page that was specifically tweeted. And again, we can follow this most likely as a competitor, and or we might follow it again as an off-site page, depending on the type of insight we want to get about this piece of content. Outside of using this as a competitive tool, the more traditional way of using our Twitter module is to identify this content as content we might want to share or curate on our own, or this might be content we want to go and comment on if it's a blog post or some other piece of content that we can interact with. But from a purely competitive perspective, it might be a piece of content we want to follow and understand ultimately, if and when it ranks, where it ranks, and again, obviously for what keywords. So something we might want to pay attention to. So that's how we can take a look at our competitors from a social monitoring perspective. Now, once we've established ultimately who our online competitors are, we understand what keywords that they're wanting to be found for. We wanted to talk a little bit about content marketing as being the next stage in our hierarchy of web presence optimization, for those of you who are familiar. Ultimately, if we're looking to outrank and establish our visibility, our discoverability online, really it comes down to an optimized content marketing strategy. And the amount of content you ultimately have to produce is directly proportional to the amount of content your online competitors are creating or being found for. So you need to be able to identify, again, within your list of primary keywords, who are those competitors, what content of theirs is being found, how regularly or how often and frequently is that content being generated. And then ultimately it's a matter of staying ahead of them, out-content the competition, if you will, with relevant, shareable content in order to establish your own authority in the eyes of Google. The focus here should really be, and I say out-content, but the focus really should be on quality over quantity, looking to create, again, that content that people want to read, like, and ultimately share, provide the social proof of its authority. So what we've continued to recommend over the last several months, if not years, is developing a content strategy and schedule, which includes socialization of your content, taking whether it be blog posts or case studies, white papers, events, even your primary content pages, those that are ranking, and or those that you want to hopefully have ranking for your specific keywords, and socializing those out through your social media channels. And ultimately, beyond that, monitoring your content's discoverability in gShift, so you're able to make decisions moving forward about how to continually optimize that process, what content's working or not working, where is it working or not working, what search engines and or what social channels, paying attention to that data and ultimately making decisions to optimize that on an ongoing basis. And so this is the simple way of doing that. And again, it's looking at a particular keyword. So here in the keyword section, this particular keyword is lakefront Barrie condos. We're looking at the top 50 results. Again, this is, as you've probably noticed, I've doubled up on this screen because it is pretty important screen as far as monitoring your presence on an ongoing basis. And what we're really just looking to identify or illuminate here is that for this particular keyword, the Barrie condo team has not only one, but two pages that are ranking or are sitting right now in the number 1 and 2 very enviable positions in Google for the term lakefront Barrie condos. But on an ongoing basis, this again is just the key area where you want to monitor how any content that you've produced is ultimately performing outside of drilling down into that actual page, where you can likewise get that information so you can understand, for any given page, if I click on this page, it's going to take me to my on-site page details, which will tell me, is this page is ranking? Is it getting traffic? Which keywords is it ranking for? Is it getting social proof? And if so or if not, I can adjust my strategy accordingly. And that brings us to the end of the webinar, or at least my part of the presentation. As mentioned, I'm going to go back and take a look at some of the questions that some of you may posted during the session, and answer any of those here if I'm able, or defer. If I'm not, let me just see. So a question regarding not having the same options in gShift if you're looking at the top 50 keywords. So let me just go back to that screen for a moment. And I think to answer this question, I believe it was for Greg, is under keywords and keywords, once you've chosen the specific keyword you're interested in, you have options down the left-hand side of looking at the summary of information, which is going to list all of the search engines that you're currently following and the positions you're in for those keywords. You're going to see pages. Oh, I apologize. I seem to have jumped right out of the presentation there for a moment. Let me just jump back ahead. There we go. You're going to be able to see the pages that are, or the content you have ranking for that particular keyword. And then the top 50 should be below that. Here's where you're able to choose which specific search engine you want to focus on to see the top 50 results on an engine by engine basis. If you don't have that visibility, or you're not seeing that within your dashboard, then certainly feel free to reach out to me and or your client success manager, and we'll look into that for you. We can even pull up a join me session and walk through it together if you're not seeing the same screens that I was presenting. So there's my email address there again for anybody that has any specific questions that you're not able to get to here today. Feel free to email me and I'll get back with some answers as soon as I'm able. Last question here. If I follow a competitor's offsite page on Twitter, will they know it? No, absolutely not. We're really monitoring all of this data and pulling this data at arm's length. So there will be no way of a client or a competitor knowing that we're looking at their offsite pages. We're not actually crawling those pages. All we're looking to identify is whether or not those pages are ultimately ranking within Google for keywords that you're wanting to follow. There's no actual interaction with that page itself, so there should be no concern there. And the last question is whether or not this webinar will be saved. Absolutely. I mentioned off the top that we will be sending out a recording of this session within the next couple of days, so you can certainly watch for that. Anybody who's registered will make sure we get that along to you. We do have a special promotion going on around this particular webinar. I referenced in an earlier slide our social keyword research module. Now it is an add-on part of our Solo Mo bundle, which some of you may or may not currently be subscribed to. And currently we're offering that at half off of the regular price. What that provides is basically the ability to track 5 keywords, 5,000 tweets per month, and anything above and beyond that is $5 per keyword over 5 keywords. So if you have any specific questions, you can contact sales@gshiftlabs.com or again your client success manager, and we can get some details out for you on that if you're not currently subscribed to the Solomo package. The other thing I'll mention, you'll see there, is we do have a referral program. So welcome any referrals and any new business that we pull in. We're welcome. We're happy to provide a 5% referral fee for that. So something just to keep in mind. And last but not least, next month, client web success webinar is going to be around social signals, what they are and do they matter? Because there's some question out there in the industry as to whether or not social signals still matter, either from an SEO perspective or otherwise. And my colleague, Brandon Gilmore, will be discussing this very topic. So if you've got specific questions around social signals and social media in general, Brandon will be your guy to answer those questions next month. And there'll certainly be an invite in your inbox a week or so before that next session. So let me just go back one last time and see if there's any final questions. One last one here from Ken Johnson to make sure I get this answered for him. So could you show again where that top 50 is? Cannot find it. So let me just go back. Oops. And if you're in the keywords section and you've drilled down to a keyword, or if anywhere within the application, let me just full screen this so you can actually see it. Anywhere within the application, if you selected a keyword that you're following, it should take you down or bring you down into this keyword level. So you'll see the keyword reflected at the top of your interface. And then over on the left-hand side, you should see this menu of summary, pages, top 50, which is what you're looking for. There's trends, and then there's also related searches, which is also a handy way of having a look to see if there's any other keywords that you might be interested in following related to the one that you're focused in on. So hopefully that answers your question, Ken. Again, that's under the keywords and keywords section, or as I said, for that matter, if you see a keyword in blue anywhere within the gShift interface, you should be able to click on that keyword and it would bring you into this level where over on the left you should be able to see the top 50. And again, if not, feel free to reach out to myself. I'll go ahead there to my email address. So that's jeff.riddell@gshiftlabs.com, or your own client success manager if that's someone else and you know specifically who that is. And we'll be happy to get those answers out to you. So I think that brings us to the end, and thank everybody for their time and attention today. And again, please do not hesitate to reach out should you have any follow-on questions, and we look forward to seeing you again in a month's time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.